nothing that the coronavirus doesn't touch.
All seen Black Lives Matter demonstrations.
Oppression is brought out.
So unfortunately, because I just feel like we're going down this road, we've been down this road before.
Things like we've had
Hello and welcome to Your Voice. My name is Gabriel Renu. Today we'll be discussing cancel culture, no platforming and wokeness. Three very 21st century terms that have opened a divide between generations and redefined elements of political correctness. There's plenty to talk about this week, and joining me in the studio to do that this evening are mental health specialist and mentor Edlira Michelle.
Hello.
And musician Amdi McErnest.
Hello.
Thank you both for joining. I'll go to you, Amdi. How and why does a person get cancelled?
Well, a person gets cancelled in most cases when they cross the line, when they say something that the public perceive as unacceptable.
Right.
That is the main reason why a person would get cancelled.
Right. So what about you? How and why does a person get cancelled?
Well, from what I've seen through social media and from doing some research prior to coming on the show, my understanding of cancel culture is when, whether it be a celebrity or a figure that has a platform, whether it be social media or somewhere else, when, like you said, when they cross the line or they say something that's highly offensive, for example, or that they're marginalizing a group of people or stereotyping. So basically, people get revolted. They don't like. They call it out. They call out the mistake.
Right.
And then people have the chance to either listen to what the public says, apologize, and move on, or just carry on with their idea, because some people are believe quite strongly in their ideas. However, when it becomes offensive, this is where the public will come in and call that behaviour out.
So is cancel culture only applicable to public figures?
Of course not.
Or can it be applicable to anybody?
Of course not. Not only public figures, individuals, organizations, it could be anyone. Everybody gets cancelled at some point. If they cross the line, if they say things that are inappropriate, anyone can get cancelled at any time.
Right.
Can I just, I'm going to talk about one particular example. J.K. Rowling, she got cancelled because she made some very transphobic comments on Twitter. A lot of writers stopped working for the same company that she's working for. She went ahead to not only listen to what trans people had to say, but she went ahead to write an essay, which I read, and I was quite angry reading the essay. You could tell that there was no research done. This is just a woman, a white woman, that's sitting down and she thinks that she's got the power to say something, and she said it. But there's no scientific research. It makes a very huge claim that people that suffer from gender dysphoria recover from this condition later on in life, and she says it's about 60 to 90%, which is a huge claim to make.
Without no research to back it up.
No.
We're going to kind of come back to that. We're going to talk about that a bit more in the show. Let's start with a conversation I had earlier with Onyi Enyado, setting out what exactly is meant by cancel culture.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear. So let me go on Wikipedia and really what, for example, what cancel culture means or is defined as. So cancel culture or call out culture is a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, whether it be online or social media or in person. So for example, they might have done something in the past, but I was thinking about this earlier on today, and for me, it's somebody, whether an artist, creative or an influencer, whoever, has a dream of one day being famous, being renowned, being successful, whatever that means, they have to have three levels of sight: hindsight, foresight, and farsight. So in the small beginnings, you have to realize that if one day I'm going to be extremely successful, whatever that means, I have to be very careful what I say online, what I share online. It doesn't actually mean that you have to be a robot, but you've got to think about the future that's already started. Because we've heard of many situations where some old tweets, maybe on racism or sexism or whatever, has come up, and then it's affected the individual's mental health as well as their income. So I think one has to be also very careful that one doesn't suddenly jump on the bandwagon and it's feeding into so much negative energy and atmosphere because someone might have made a, an unintentional mistake or unintentional mistake. So I think for me, and the basis of understanding what council culture is a modern form of ostracism. We have to be careful that we don't give, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say salvation. Don't give a second chance to someone that's made a mistake. Now, if an individual makes the same mistakes, there's an issue. But for me, I'll give an example. If Muhammad Ali was alive today, definitely he'd be cancelled because of his views and his opinions based on what he's gone through and what he saw. He would definitely be cancelled. So I think we have to take it into balance and be very, very careful that we just don't jump on the bandwagon for bandwagon's sake. And so I believe that as an individual, they have to have foresight, foresight, and hindsight. Know that, okay, if I'm small beginnings, the future's already next year, next 10 years, next 5 years. Let me be careful what I'm going to say online. I'm not saying you have to be a robot, but at the same time, think about your future brand, think about your future clients, and think about your future influencers.
Very interesting stuff there from Onya, and I've got so many questions, but I just want to pick up the point before we went to that VT about what you said about J.K. Rowling and some of the transphobic stuff. I actually got a tweet of what she actually tweeted. If I could show it on the wall, if it could show up on the wall. I'm not sure if you've got it here. Yeah. So here she says, dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you. Live your best life in peace and security, but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real? I stand with Maya. This is not a drill. Right. What do you think of that tweet?
I remember this tweet.
Right.
Because I remember being angry about it.
Right. Okay.
The idea behind this tweet at the time, Maya Forstater was taken to court where she lost.
Right.
A judge decided that she was in the wrong, therefore she lost her job because she was spewing transphobic comments at the workplace,
right,
claiming that sex is not gender, and then saying that men in dresses are not women.
Right.
Making some very transphobic comments.
Right. So the thing about cancel and freedom of speech is that isn't she allowed to have, although we don't like what she says, is she allowed to say that?
Can I just comment?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, look, this is what we're talking about now, right? She's put out a tweet. She's speaking her mind.
Right.
She's almost saying what she thinks in her head.
So
now,
let's
to some extent,
clear. She didn't speak her mind. She supported the lady who went to court, right?
Maya, right?
So she's not necessarily, but she kind of.
But she gave her opinion about the situation.
Right.
Now, like you said, shouldn't she have freedom of speech to say what she wants to say?
Right.
Right. That's a point there, but it's not everything that anyone says or someone says that we're gonna like.
Right.
There's so many things that people say that we don't like.
So where do we draw the line when it comes to canceling people?
There's always that invisible line
Yeah.
when calling people out turns toxic and turns abusive, and
Right.
there you've crossed the line. You've gone into cyberbullying now.
Yeah, because where we might cross the line, the opposition may not think that that's where they need to cross the line.
Yeah.
So this is, you beg to differ. This is like a situation where people are having different opinions on this matter.
Look, people make mistakes all the time.
Absolutely.
Be that celebrities, be that news
human
anchors,
beings. We're all
human beings,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Taking into account, I think calling behaviours out is necessary, because unless we call it out, then how will the person know that they've done wrong? I've done it myself before, and when someone has called me out on my behaviour, then I stop to think, actually, you're right, and I apologise for my behaviour.
Yeah.
But to sit there and then dig a bigger hole for yourself by going out of your head to write this long essay claiming all sorts of lies.
Right.
She might just be thinking that she's right. That's the whole point of it. Like, I'm not saying, it's not a situation where I'm saying she's right or wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there's different opinions. Like the video we just watched, he mentioned about Muhammad Ali in this day and age.
Again, and I asked
being
again,
cancelled.
how do you
He was stripped off his heavyweight title.
What do
wasn't
you
he?
base that on, though? Cancelling someone? How can you? Who gets to decide who's cancelling who? So someone like Muhammad Ali, for instance, he said if he was alive today,
Yes.
he will be cancelled.
Yes.
How did he make that conclusion, and how?
Not sure why
He made.
said that.
He made.
But he's probably thought and looked at some of the stuff and the views that Muhammad Ali holds, and he felt that this within the cancel culture is cancel deemable.
Yeah, no, look, I'm a massive Muhammad Ali fan,
Same.
supporter. I love Muhammad Ali.
Same
I've watched
here.
all his videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
He said a lot of things that people would deem offensive. And there's so many, I don't know where to start from.
Okay.
But at the same time, you know, it didn't stop me from seeing him the way I saw him. Because I don't even think, there might be some things that he might have said that people were like, okay, they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
But it still didn't change the fact that this man spoke his mind.
But here's another thing, though. Can you ever recover from being
I
cancelled?
think you
Of
can.
course you can.
Of course
Of course
you
you
can.
can.
Jimmy
But how do-
Fallon recovered
But how do you, though? Because the people who've
by
cancelled
apologising publicly and
Well,
admitting to your
And just
mistake.
coming back harder,
Yeah.
doing something to overcome
Doing the work.
that circumstance.
So when you made a
Yeah.
mistake, you go
Okay.
back and you do the work and you learn.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Gary.
I mean, let's give an example.
Thank you, guys. We're going to have to take a short break. We'll come back, though. It's a very interesting topic. We're going to take a short break now. But please join us again for part 2, when we'll be discussing no platforming. See you soon.
The warmth of your love's like a warmth from the sun. This will be our year, took a long time to come.
The census builds a picture of your community. When you fill in yours, you help make decisions about services like local transport and healthcare. Census Day is the 21st of March. You can complete yours as soon as you receive your letter.
This will be our year, took a long time to come.
Shaw's Advanced Protection Range gives you double protection at 72 hours. It outlasts the leading antiperspirant. Right now, keeping active matters. And with Shaw's Motion Sense fragrance technology, the more you move, the more it works. However you stay active, stay safe and stay protected with Shaw's Advanced Protection Range. Our best ever protection in an aerosol. Shaw's Advanced Protection. It won't let you down.
I got 3 pairs of glasses for less than I paid for 1 pair previously.
Get prescription glasses from just £6 a pair at selectspecs.com.
Taking care of business, tax, payroll, and cash flow. Taking care of finance stuff, into it QuickBooks.
Why settle down for the season finale? Only for your broadband to lead more online security than any other big provider, because BT guarantees you the big 3. All for $27.99 a month. Why choose anyone else? Visit bt.com to join today.
Introducing Tuco, the king of all apps, bringing every service imaginable under one roof. Imagine having one single app that could do everything you've ever needed. Tuco is an all-inclusive app where users can shop for all their needs right in one place. Need to do your grocery shopping, hire a taxi, find a plumber, or even a hairdresser locally? We've got you covered. Not only will Tuco make life easier by bringing all your needs into one place, but we're helping thousands of local service providers to reach new clients and grow their business. With Tuco, we've got everything you can ever imagine. Get ready for things to get a whole lot easier. It is the go-to application for every possible need. Now you can even shop at the mall without ever leaving the comfort of your home. Collect or get things delivered to you at your own convenience. Download the app today and discover why it's everyone's favorite app. Now available from App Store or Google Play. Get connected.
Welcome back to Your Voice with me, Gabriel Renu, where we're discussing the government's announcement that they'll be imposing fines on universities who no platform speakers. But before we get into the main discussion, earlier I spoke to political advisor Calvin Robinson. Here's what he had to say.
So I find no platforming to be one of the scariest prospects to arise out of common pop culture at the moment, because there's an idea that if someone has a belief or someone says something that we disagree with, we don't want to hear it. And we want to shut them down, and we want to remove them from the public sector, and we don't want them on our TVs, we don't want them to talk to us at our university campuses. And that is frightening, because how do we know that we're right? Surely we should always be exploring truth. Truth is the most important fundamental from the Enlightenment age, and we can't take for granted that what we know is true unless we explore all the options. And if we consider someone to be wrong, maybe they are wrong, maybe we're wrong, and we only discover that through debate, through open criticism, debate, challenge. All these things are important. Because if someone is completely wrong, if someone is an extremist, the worst thing we can do is remove their platform and push them underground, because that's where hateful ideas fester, and we want everything out in the open, and we want to ridicule nonsense and ridicule extreme ideas until they're no longer relevant, and we want to champion good ideas and champion the truth. That's why I don't believe in no platforming. And I think cancel culture has arisen out of this idea of no platforming, which started in the universities. And cancel culture for me is very, very similar, but it's more the idea that if you say or do something that's perceived to be wrong, you can be removed, not just from your platform, but from your place of work or from your place of study. And that means that you could lose your livelihood, or you could lose your education. You can lose things that are very important to your life just for saying or doing something that's perceived to be wrong. And then again, it comes down to who says what is right and wrong in that situation. And it is a sense of, if you're not part of the majority, if you're not part of the approved narrative, if you're not part of the groupthink mentality, then you're in the wrong group. And that comes down to policing people's words, which is a way of policing their thoughts. And again, that's very scary for me. We should explore everyone's ideas and everyone's thoughts. And if people disagree with us, that's great. We shouldn't take offense to that just because they disagree with us. Sometimes we can choose to take offense, but again, that's a privilege. We live in a free society where we have that choice. Lots of places around the world don't have that opportunity. But there's nothing wrong with taking offense either. We seem to see offense these days as like the ultimate crime, like hate crime, for example, and I don't think it is. What's wrong with being offended? Get over yourself.
Still with me in the studio, I have Adlira Michelle, Amdi McErnest, and joining me now via video link, please also welcome journalist Ben Owadia. Thank you all for joining. Now, I just want to quickly read something. So the UK Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson, unveiled proposal on Tuesday as part of the government's wider efforts to stamp out unlawful silencing on campuses and bolster academic freedom. And that's just off the back of the no platform, because a lot of universities say no platform. And Calvin was just talking about, where is the freedom of speech if you cancel people from no platforms? I just want to go to you, Ben. With students paying so much for their education, is it fair for universities to dictate who can and cannot speak? Shouldn't the choice be up to the students, Ben?
100%. And I just think that we are living in a world where people are afraid and people are far too sheltered, and that is extremely dangerous. When you go to university, this is a higher education, and I think the whole point of university, as opposed to a secondary school or a primary school, is welcome to the real world. Welcome to the world where you will see people who racially abuse you. You will see sexism. You will see homophobia. This is the real world. Primary and secondary school, that's where you are sheltered, and that's where you live in a bubble. But in university is where you have now been shoved out into the world in all its ugliness and rawness. So for universities policing who can or can't speak, universities policing what the real world is extremely dangerous for students in universities. And what it does, it will only be problematic for once these students now leave university and now go out into the real ugly world, when they do have to face these ugly realities from people that exist. So it is very important that universities specifically foster an environment where people can say what they feel, say what's on their mind, and you have open dialogue, because you have to prepare this world and build a society where all forms of dissent exist, all forms of dialogue exist, all points of view exist. Whether you agree or disagree, that's not the point. If you disagree, debate. Don't hide away in your shell. But I think the issue is we are creating a society of people who hide behind a hive, hide behind groupthink, and are not really ready to face opinions or views that counteract and challenge their long-held views.
Right, thank you, Ben. So you see, this is the issue, because you know, if we are not providing platforms for opposing views, you know, we just end up hearing one version of the truth.
Exactly. I find it a little bit hypocritical that universities, who are supposed to teach you critical thinking,
right,
are not now
they don't.
silencing you. That kind of doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Yeah. So
information is limited. Yeah. Right.
Information in university is limited.
But they send you out there to do the research, get information in. I mean.
It's just a minefield, because how does that impact on freedom of speech if you're not providing, you know, a platform where every opinion should coexist?
Straight up, it would affect mental health. Let's dive into that real quick. Let's
why do you think that?
Yeah, because I feel like people need to speak their mind in certain situations.
People do need to speak
because you wouldn't know what it's doing to a person. There's some people that are afraid to speak up. And this is why, from cancel culture, all of that, if people want to speak about certain things on their mind and they can't speak about it just because they're scared they're going to get cancelled, or they're scared that people are going to look at them that way, and that it would affect them extremely in different ways. Would you rather see someone being affected by a serious mental health situation, which could lead to so many other things that we don't even want to start mentioning right now?
I think Ben wants to chime in there.
I mean, because again, this actually it's interesting they just bring up mental health, but it is true. But let me paint a scenario for the panel and just let me hear what you guys think. So what if there is someone who he wants to share his views and is desperate to share these views? What are these views? These views are simply that I want to kill all blacks, I want to kill all Asians, and I want to see them burn. And he feels that he wants to say out this speech, which is hate speech, of wanting to kill all blacks, all Asians, and anybody that is non-white. And he feels that if he's not allowed to put out this speech, he's going to suffer from mental health. Should that person be given a platform to promote that speech on social media and on platforms?
Well, he could be given that platform, but he definitely needs help.
No, but that's not the point, though.
That's not the point, but he just
we
raised
had
that
Donald
issue.
Trump using social media to entice the Capitol riots.
Right.
This person needed to be cancelled because his words are actually enticing violence.
Yeah.
People, there's a line between free speech and hate speech. When you cross that line, then you invading someone else's free speech and freedom of living.
Yeah.
Nobody is here to dictate anybody how to live, but we all need to be mindful that we are all different and accommodate each other.
But like he mentioned, if someone came and made that sort of speech, we know that, oh, this is the kind of person we're living with in this society, and this person needs help, right? It needs to be attended to.
Because what I'm seeing,
rather than the person to just have this sort of feeling and then maybe do something crazy.
Right.
And then we're like, what happened?
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? Why did he do this?
Ben wants to kind of chime in again. We're going to say something, Ben.
Sorry. Oh, no, because I think, it is key to say, okay, some people, they need help and so forth, but we have to be real here. Some people can't be helped. Some people are just evil. And we can't just live in this utopia of, oh, everybody can be helped. Oh, why do you hate blacks so much? Why do you hate women so much? Why do you want all blacks killed? Come, let me help you. Some people, yes, they can be helped. Some other people are just psychotic, are just dangerous, and you need to have.
But when I say help, I don't mean pampering them or maybe giving them Cerelac in their mouth.
But
Adlira
makes a very valid point when she says there's a difference between having an opinion
and a hate.
And enticing something. There's a clear difference, because if you are kind of galvanizing...
That's a hate speech.
When you're galvanizing people to kind of, like what happened to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's situation was a unique one, because was he cancelled? Because his cancellation didn't come from the cancellation king, it happened from Twitter. So would that, in that instance, is he being cancelled? Because when Twitter mutes a voice like Donald Trump, is that cancellation?
Yeah, because
or is that just muting him?
Yeah,
That is
he
cancellation,
was
and that
cancelled
needed
to
to be
some
cancelled.
degree because
He needed to be cancelled.
to some extent.
I understand, and I understand what Ben is trying to say as well.
Let's hear what Ben has to say. Ben, over to you.
Initially, it seems as if he was cancelled, but let's not look into the details. I'm Jack Dorsey. I own Twitter. This is my social media platform. Once you sign up, there are guidelines. My social media platform isn't at the behest of society. It's my platform. If you don't follow these guidelines, it is my right to take you off my platform. So the mistake people are making is conjoining the Twitter social media platform and general life. No. Donald Trump, from Jack Dorsey's point of view, from my point of view, from my guidelines of my platform, you broke the rules of my platform. Therefore, I had to remove you. So it's separate.
Right, we're going to have to leave it there. That's the end of part 2. Join us after the break, where we'll be taking a closer look at the arguments against cancel culture. See you soon.
When a stroke strikes, the damage spreads like a fire in the brain. If you spot any single one of these signs, think and act fast. F, face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A, arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S, speech. Is their speech slurred? T, time. It's time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999. Search Act Fast.
Shaw's Advanced Protection Range gives you double protection at 72 hours. It outlasts the leading antiperspirant. Right now, keeping active matters. And with Shaw's Motion Sense fragrance technology, the more you move, the more it works. However you stay active, stay safe and stay protected. With Shaw's Advanced Protection Range, our best ever protection in an aerosol. Shaw's Advanced Protection. It won't let you down.
Heard about GoDaddy's online store builder? Build a website and start selling whatever you do online with GoDaddy.
Taking care of business, tax, payroll, and cash flow. Taking care of finance stuff, into it QuickBooks.
Why settle down for the season finale? Only for your broadband to lead more online security than any other big provider, because BT guarantees you the big 3. All for $27.99 a month. Why choose anyone else? Visit bt.com to join today.
Hello and welcome back to Your Voice. I'm Gabriel Renu, and this week we're looking into cancel culture. Now, before we get into the chat for this part, I want to share with you a conversation I had earlier with Lape Banjo Olaronloye. Here's her take on cancel culture.
I don't think that being woke is good enough for cancelling people, or should I say, I don't think a byproduct of cancel culture is being woke. I think at the end of the day, everyone's human. And everybody is, prone to errors. I think the issue is, because I'm kind of in the middle on this whole cancel culture thing, because I think if someone's done something that is really wrong, for example, if I'll be far-fetched as possible, but something to do with a child, if it's to do with, sexual violation or that kind of thing, I don't think there's really any coming back from that. Yes, the person can be forgiven, but the act in itself and what they've done has already tarnished their image, whether they like it or not. In a world where we're all judged constantly by what we say, what we do, and so on. But should then I join that tirade of pulling people down when they're already at their lowest? I don't agree with that, and I think everybody deserves a second chance, because it could be you in that position. It could be you being someone pulling up your tweets from 10 years ago when you were really naive, and then suddenly you have to have an explanation as to why you said that. You probably couldn't remember why you said that, or you said it, you know, on a whim, but now you have to justify to lots of people, coupled with the fact that nobody knows the future. So you could be a prime minister tomorrow, and tomorrow somebody could pull out your tweets, or even nowadays a nude of something that you've done when you were much more younger and immature, and use that to judge your entire adulthood years. And I think that's so wrong. And that's how I feel about the whole cancel culture. Whether it's a question of being woke, I think is a completely different thing. I think the whole woke brigade has gone quite nuts, really, because where do you draw the line, really? What is being woke nowadays? Is it, you know, going out of your way to inform yourself about things that you weren't previously aware of? Or is it, you know, just going around and promoting conspiracy theories? And I think it's really tough to draw that line, and the lines are completely blurred at the moment. But it's dangerous, I think, the cancel culture, because it could be me and it could be you.
We've heard the term woke come up in the show already, but what is exactly wokeness? Black civil rights leaders such as Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King have spoken for decades about the importance of their supporters being awake to the nature of the struggle they face. Is the concept of wokeness just a modern way of expressing this, or is the modern wokeness something different? Still here to discuss this and more with me are Edlira Michelle, Amdi McErnest and Ben Owadia. So, Amdi, what does it mean to be woke?
When you speak of woke, I think about Black Americans. I think about police brutality. I think about Black Lives Matter. That's what comes to mind, because
any kind of discrimination, really.
Yes, of course, any kind of discrimination. But that for being just me as a researcher, you know, information that I've taken on over the last couple months or years, it's also come up, you know, in situations of the Black Lives Matter, the police brutality.
So is that where the resurgence of being woke
that's where it came from.
So now, so that's where the resurgence has come from. But
Yes.
what is it? Does it mean today
To me,
be woke? Yeah.
To me, being woke means being aware of the injustices that have been going on in the world for centuries, not just today.
Right.
Being woke is being informed and critically thinking and looking into situations critically to point out where errors have been made, to call it out, to cancel things that need to be cancelled, and put things back in history that have been whitewashed or taken out.
Right, yeah. So Ben, are you woke?
I would hope so. You know, I think, you know, when you use the word woke, I really do believe that you can link it to Marcus Garvey, but I think you can also link it to a 1999 film that I'm sure many of you guys would have seen, which is, of course, The Matrix. The key thing about The Matrix is Neo is living inside a fake world where he's asleep. And then once he now leaves that fake world into the real world, he now uses his eyes, because there's a scene in The Matrix where Neo says to Morpheus, "Why do my eyes hurt?" And Morpheus says, "Because you've never used them before." So I think almost wokeness is where you are awake. You now see the world as it is, and you now see the truth for what it is. In general, being woke or being awake is good. You're just aware of the truth and you're aware of injustices. But if you're too extreme, an extremity of anything is bad. Yeah. Being too nice can be bad. And there's a stage in which you can almost be a bit too woke, where, there should be there should be gay people and lesbian people in all these films. There should be women in all these films. This white's character, he should be black, blah, blah, blah. So that is where I just think that the general idea, which is good, can be taken to an extreme where you're almost encroaching on every facet of society, specifically in media, to try and push forth an agenda. And pushing forth an agenda where it doesn't need to be pushed forth can be problematic. And that is where you can say wokeness is taken to an ugly, unlikely extreme.
What are your thoughts on that, Edlira?
Well, I don't think wokeness is it's an extreme way of looking at things at all. I think wokeness is people actually waking up and realizing that they have a voice and they're
I think
making their voice heard.
I mean, I think just to be clear, I think he's talking about the extreme version of wokeness. But
of course, anything in extreme is not good.
Extreme versions,
we need to look at balance.
Yeah.
Balance in life is very
so
important.
what kind of things are we talking about, though? What are the situations that we need to be woke about?
Social
Black Lives
injustices.
Matter movement.
Exactly.
The whitewashing of history, white supremacy.
Right.
Where do I start? There's so many.
So I think we've got a tweet from, is it Lawrence Fox somewhere that we could read out?
I'm going to have to take a deep breath before I look at this.
Has anyone got it? Yeah, okay. So it says half of Britons fear freedom of speech is under threat from the rise of cancel culture. Poll by Lawrence Fox, Reclaim Party reveals. So people, are afraid to speak their mind, like we were saying earlier, because of the fear of being cancelled.
Are people being afraid to speak their minds, or are people afraid to speak their racist minds? Because there's a difference between speaking your mind and then speaking your racist mind, or your discriminatory mind, or your bigoted mind. There's a difference. If you're pushing your bigotry forward, then no, nobody's going to sit there and take it. They're going to call you out.
No, you're right. I think in all aspects, most definitely, as you've mentioned, their racist mind, their honest mind as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's people right now that, I'm telling you right now, believe me, there's people that will not speak their mind.
Well, of course there isn't, because people are cowards.
Based on the cancel culture.
No, that's not even about
just to bring it back, just to bring it back, Ben, one second, just to bring it back to the issue of wokeness. I read last year when Black Lives Matter was really big on Instagram.
Yes.
I read someone say, if everyone's sitting back. Yeah, this is on Instagram. If everyone's sitting back and they're not using their platforms, to kind of speak up and speak out about Black Lives Matter, that means they're not woke and they should be cancelled. Now, for me, the question now becomes is there are people out there who actually are woke, who are supporting Black Lives Matter. But however, they might not be posting on Instagram.
Of course.
They might be doing it in other ways.
Can I just say something? In the world that we live in today, not being anti-racist is not enough. Just being not racist is not enough. Your silence makes you complicit because you're blatantly seeing the discrimination and you're choosing to stay silent.
Well,
I know, but when you say this, how many people? There's so many people that are silent. That's what I'm saying. When people come out and speak,
but it's not about silence.
No, I'm saying to you,
it's not about silence. Sorry, Ben. Let's just go to Ben for a quick. Ben, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Oh, no. I think I've definitely got to agree with what my colleague says in terms of. Don't just say, oh, I'm against racism, but you sit in a $1 million house, you don't do anything, and you post a black screen on Instagram and say, yes, blackout, and that's it. No. Do the work. Go out there. Put yourself out there. Because again, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Eminem's music and so forth, but Eminem put himself out there and he lost his fans. Because when Eminem put himself out there, and was putting forth anti-racist messages and anti-Trump messages, there were many comments and people said, oh, Eminem, you're a rapper. Why are you getting yourself involved in all of this politics? And Eminem said, I don't care if I cut half of my fan base. I'm willing to put myself out there to show that I am standing against racism. But there are many people out there with a platform who, because they're afraid of harming their wallets and their dollar, they will not put themselves out there. And those people, I have zero respect for those people.
And I totally agree with you there. But the difference I want to try and mention here is it's not about being silent. Because, okay, fair enough, you might not necessarily be using your platform to kind of do the blackout or Black Lives Matter. However, but you could do it in other ways. There are other ways. You can actually go and support black businesses. You can do a lot of stuff.
That's all part of it.
So what I'm saying is that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to supporting Black lives and staying woke. And because you don't see a person tweet out there, doesn't mean he might be supporting loads of black businesses. He might be supporting black families. So the argument I'm trying to make here is that it's not a one-size-fits-all. I can see you shaking your head.
He's shaking his head because that's where we come down to the fact that some people disagree, some people agree. You're never really going to get everyone agreeing on one thing. Like you said, people have their ways of showing their support. There's people that are going to go out there, post on Instagram, like you said.
Exactly.
There's some people that are
are not going to
just put themselves out there that are going to indirectly support that cause.
Yeah.
So that's the point I'm trying to make.
Ben, over to you.
I think, look, the key thing is about how what you do it all. You post on Instagram, you post on Twitter, you put out a video, then you get your hands dirty and you go out into the street. Because guys, let's be real. These celebrities are influential. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people are more influenced by the musician or the football player as opposed to the politician or the speaker. So a certain tweet or a certain video can be truly profound because nobody is going to see the work that you do behind the scenes and so forth. But for a LeBron James who puts out a certain tweet, how many white supporters are there of LeBron James? So that tweet put out there in public, that white kid who is obsessed with LeBron James will say, next time my white friend says something racist, I'm going to check him because LeBron James says that.
But there's only one LeBron.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ben. So that's the end of part 3. Join us after the break when we, as usual, we'll be finishing up the show, looking to the future and where the phenomena of wokeness and cancel culture are taken up. See you in a few minutes.
When a stroke strikes, the damage spreads like a fire in the brain. If you spot any single one of these signs, think and act fast. F, face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A, arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S, speech. Is their speech slurred? T, time. It's time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999. Search Act Fast.
Shaw's Advanced Protection Range gives you double protection at 72 hours. It outlasts the leading antiperspirant. Right now, keeping active matters. And with Shaw's Motion Sense fragrance technology, the more you move, the more it works. However you stay active, stay safe and stay protected. With Shaw's Advanced Protection Range, our best ever protection in an aerosol. Shaw's Advanced Protection. It won't let you down.
Heard about GoDaddy's online store builder? Build a website and start selling whatever you do online with GoDaddy.
Taking care of business, tax, payroll, and cash flow. Taking care of finance stuff, end-to-end QuickBooks.
Why settle down for the season finale? Only for your broadband to lead more online security than any other big provider, because BT guarantees you the big 3. All for $27.99 a month. Why choose anyone else? Visit bt.com to join today.
Hello and welcome back to Your Voice, where we've been talking about the cancel culture and wokeness this evening. In this final part, let's ask, where should the black community position itself in this argument? Are we allowed to opt out of some parts of the woke agenda? For instance, choose not to support LGBT rights because of their religious beliefs. Well, please welcome back one last time Edlira Michelle, Amdi McErnest and Ben Owadia. I'm going to go straight to you, Ben. So can people, based on, yes, they support the whole wokeness, they support the whole Black Lives Matter movement, but because of some of their religious beliefs, opt out of some of the agendas? Is that allowed? Or do you have to support everything, regardless of where you stand?
For me, I just think, like at the end of the day, people are going to support what suits them, and we have to keep it real, because again, whenever we have people of the, let's say the LGBT community, they want to sort of use the fumes of black people. Look at what's happening with Stop Asian Hate now. And again, they're looking to black people for support. Where were the Asians for Black Lives Matter? How many Asians really came and worked hand in hand with black people?
But do we know do we know that categorically, or is it just because it wasn't visible? Because they might have supported the Black Lives Matter movements in other ways that you and I might not have seen. Because some of the stuff they've probably done is symbolism. So they might not be physically doing it, but they might still be supporting.
We're not doing enough, though. That's the point.
Thank you. This goes back to what we were saying before. If you do things behind the scenes, how do we know whether you are here? You have to be on the front lines. You have to put yourself out in public so we know, aha, you were there.
But why do you?
Because if you just say, oh yes, I supported you in quiet, sure, I did. Come on.
Can I just say something?
So yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. Martin Luther King said, well, actually, it was Coretta who said it. Injustice anywhere, it's a threat to justice everywhere. And I think that's a very important line.
I agree.
We are not, as it is right now, we are not doing enough to change things.
Right.
We started the civil rights movement 60 years ago. We are still nowhere near to having equality.
Sure.
Why is that? People are fed up. People don't want. Now is the time for everybody to get involved. Do the work, educate themselves, do your own research. I went and did my own research.
I agree.
Because there is no education on Black history, for example. I had to go out of my way and do my own research.
Exactly.
Because what education taught me was just that
which is
slavery, and that's it.
Which is why we come back to the universities. I mean, I went to university, but a lot of extra information that I acquired was from watching
doing your
YouTube,
own research.
Doing my own research on Black history. A lot more information
because education itself is whitewashed.
We always
History
need
itself
to do better.
is whitewashed. The sooner we realize this, the sooner we realize that white supremacy is real, the sooner we realize this, the sooner we can start fighting it and changing the world, because it needs to be changed. And I don't think it's just me in here. I think that a lot of people are quite furious and they've had enough.
It is realized. It is realized, but I guess some people don't say nothing about it. Or some people say something about it.
The way I see it, silence makes you complicit.
Okay, we're going to come to that, please. So Ben, very quickly.
I think people have to realize this, specifically with white supremacy. White people will never ever see Black people or non-white people as equals. That's never happening. The only thing you have to do is you have to either create your own paradigm or you have to go to war with white people to destroy supremacy. So the idea that we will work hand in hand and together as all races is a massive pipe dream, which Martin Luther King realized towards his death, and which is what Malcolm X always knew.
So do you feel like we're nowhere near close to kind of realizing the so-called,
I think it's boiling. It's bubbling underneath. It's bubbling. It's boiling. It's getting, and people are getting more and more every day. I see in social media.
Yeah.
I myself have educated myself hugely during these times. And I've seen a movement in social media, in actual media, TV, and I think it's the time for us to just...
Yeah. So Mike, you mentioned something about silence makes you complicit, but you see, how do you define silence?
Okay,
because how do you judge when someone is silent? You go to their post, and because they don't post, does that make them silent? How do you define silence?
Say, for example, you saw someone getting sexually assaulted and you just walked away.
Okay. No, I agree.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's a complicit.
That's a really good point.
But if you see someone being racist and staying in silence, that's also really bad.
That's really bad.
Definitely.
You also becoming complicit because you're allowing it to happen.
I just think ultimately we need to keep educating ourselves on these topics, and we need to keep pushing the movement by any means necessary. Right? This is what we need to keep doing, because at the end of the day, I can't worry about other people. For example, me as an individual, I will keep working on myself. I will put myself in the face of that movement. I'll keep pushing to spread the word, to play my own part in the society. And that's what I would advise everyone out there, because at the end of the day, we can't just sit here and just talk about this A person or this B person.
No, we all need to do the work.
I feel like we need to do the work.
I'm just going to go back onto the issue of silence again. So what about if someone is keeping silent because of their religious belief? Whilst they support other things and many things, they've decided to keep silent on a particular thing because of their religious or whatever cultural value they hold.
Okay, I'm sure any God in any religion would not want to see people being marginalized, discriminated against, being treated as subhuman. So I find it difficult to believe that there's a religion out there that says it's okay for you to just turn a blind eye.
Yeah, I agree. But if that's their interpretation of that religion,
then they're probably interpreting it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Because guess what?
It's a cop-out.
Injustice, discrimination, racism, all of that, it doesn't stand anywhere.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So your religious beliefs, sometimes people probably
I'm
get
not
it
just
mixed up.
particularly holding on religious, that's just an example. I'm talking about just some people might
Just
have
an example,
a variety
yeah.
of
That's where
values.
education comes in. That's where education comes in.
This is where we need to hold ourselves
if I read a
responsible.
book today, I'll be smarter tomorrow, right? If I read 2 books today, I'll be smarter than the day after tomorrow.
We need
right?
to address
So we need to
our
keep
own-
educating ourselves.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, you were going to say something there. I saw you shaking your head profusely.
No, because I've heard the word education being used a lot, and I just want to know what the panel's view is on. Is it the responsibility of like non-white people to educate white people based on racism? Because I think that I shouldn't have to do anything, or all of us who are non-whites have to do anything to educate others with regards to being racist. But there just seems to be this rhetoric of education. We need to educate white people. We should treat them like kids. I said, no, that's stupid, but I don't know what you guys...
If white people want to be educated
we can't keep, like he's saying, educate white people. You focus on yourself. Focus on what's around you.
White people need to own up their
they
wrongdoings.
will own up, but that's how, like say example, you keep improving yourself, you focus on yourself, you keep growing, you keep showing. All of that comes hand in hand, and then guess what? People will you focus on yourself, the world will focus on you. But we can't just sit here and be talking about, oh, this white people, they need to do this, they need to do that. You're in no control of that. But that's the point. You're not in control of that.
But let's also remember that you know when you talk about whitewashing history, I know it's against black people and what we've come against. But let's not forget that there's some white people who've read that history who've also been deprived of the truth.
Yep.
So they don't know any different because that's all they've read and that's all they know. So are they to blame? So
that's why they need to do the work.
So also when that truth comes out, don't they need to be aware of that? Because also they have to go through whatever therapy that they have to go through the same way.
And it's not even all of them. It's not even all of them in this predicament. Like he mentioned, it's not all white people that are.
We're talking about white supremacists.
Yeah, it's
exactly. So that's a fraction.
It's the system. It's not necessarily white people as a person.
The system itself.
It's a system.
It's a system. But we keep playing our part. We keep educating ourselves. We keep doing good. Things will change.
Ben wanted to say something.
No, I think, but the reality, guys, I'm like, we just have to accept this. How many white people want to know the truth? And how many white people are happy living in white supremacy, knowing that they're still superior to other people? I think there's a lot more white people than you think are happy living within the pyramid structure where they're at the very top and they're looking down on everyone else.
I'm not sure if that's totally true, though.
Yeah, but why do I even care about that? That's what I'm saying. That's my point. You can't sit here and you're thinking, because these are indirect topics in terms of like, look, I would always tell myself, right, I focus on what I can control. I don't focus on what I can't control. Like this is what you're talking about. I'm not disagreeing. But I will never, me personally as an individual, I will never focus on any of that. I'll focus on myself. I'll focus on what I can do for my community. I'll focus on how I can push myself and change the perspective of so many things. That's what I would do.
Lyra, you wanted to say something?
Well, in my opinion, all white people need to do the work.
What about when you say all white people? There are white people who are doing the work, who continue to do the work.
Not enough. It's not enough.
They're not enough, but they still exist. So that's
fine.
But the fact that you're saying all means that everyone, even those that are doing
because
the work.
We are all born with unconscious bias. We're not born, but we grow up and we take on these unconscious biases. So without even knowing, because we were raised in a certain society that was made a certain way, we have these biases and we don't even know that we have them. I've seen experiments where people were just doing a simple experiment and they realized that there was a lot more racists than they thought there were because their unconscious biases were showing them up in the experiment. Do you understand? We need to constantly look inwards, change ourselves, and then change the world and impact change around us.
Sorry, can I just say one last thing?
Quickly, because we're running out of time.
History changes every day. History changes. There's always, this is the first black.
But it's the people that change history.
This is that.
It's the Malcolm X's and Luther King's of this world.
Yes, and of course, and they've left that, that perspective, and people are carrying on and doing things and making history every single day. They've played their part.
Sorry, just very quickly, we've got very little time left. There's a slight difference between white privilege and white supremacy. So what are your thoughts on that, Ben?
I mean, for me, I think white supremacy is sort of the system as a whole. And I think white privilege is a byproduct of white supremacy. And I just think that the key thing is this: Black people, Asian people, so forth, you are wasting your time thinking you're going to get white people to give up their white privilege. There is no way in hell white people are giving up their white privilege.
Sorry, Ben, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. That's all we've got time for. Thank you so much. Well, that's all we have time for. I mean, this is a very interesting show. Thank you for watching. I'd like to thank my studio guests, Edlira Michelle, Amdi McErnest, and Ben Owadia. And thank you for watching. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, on your Yanga TV. Look forward to seeing you there. Until then, good night.
It seems extraordinary that there's nothing that the coronavirus doesn't touch.
All seen Black Lives Matter demonstrations.
Oppression is brought out.
It's unfortunate because I just feel like we're going down this road. We've been down this road before.